Zapad 2021. Every 4 years, Russia's Zapad military exercises cause ripples in the global geostrategic community. Zapad, translating to West, is a military exercise that takes place in rotation with Russia's other 3 capstone strategic exercises, Vostok, Tansir, and Kavkaz, which translate to East, Center, and Caucasus respectively. In today's video, we are going to give you a detailed overview of these exercises and why they deserve to be termed as one of the most important military developments in Europe. However, before we begin, we would like to ask you to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to receive the latest notifications from our channel. Now, let's begin. Purpose. The scenario in Zapad 2021 emphasizes the defense of Belarus, which is fictionalized as Polessia, against a Western coalition, with the failure of an indirect color revolution in Polessia leading to escalation in military regime change attempts. Pomoris representing Poland, Yaris representing Lithuania and part of Latvia, and the Polar Republic representing Norway were identified as Russia's and Polissai's adversaries in the exercise, ensuring the participation of Russia's northern fleet. The Russian and Polish militaries were supposed to deploy and engage hostile forces in a defensive engagement from September 10 to 12 before going on the offensive to destroy the opponent and restore the status of quo ante in the 2-phase exercise from September 13 to 16. History. The Zapad drills have been Russia's most high-profile exercises since their start in the mid-1970s. They've long functioned as a mirror of Moscow's relationship with its Western counterparts, as well as foreshadowing of how Moscow perceives potential armed conflicts with its Western neighbors. After stopping the drills in 1990s and 2000s, Russia resumed them in 2009. The drills were aimed at guaranteeing defense against new threats and advancements in hybrid warfare, which included the repression of internal upheavals at the time. Mongolia, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Serbia, and India were among the 7 countries directly participating in this year's exercise, in addition to Russia and Belarus. Pakistan, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Uzbekistan, and Sri Lanka participating as observers. Significance. Aside from the actual scenario, 3 key features of Zapad 2021 are of interest. To begin with, it is thought to be larger than at least the previous 2 Zapad iterations. Zapad 2021, according to a Russian army official, involved about 200,000 troops, making it the largest Zapad exercise ever. Since 2017, Russia has permanently stationed 6 divisions, each with over 10,000 troops, in the Western military region, highlighting Moscow's constant assessment that Russia's largest security challenges are on its European frontiers. Second, Zapad is only the conclusion of a series of smaller preparations activities that took place over the 2 months leading up to Zapad. These training exercises primarily focus on mobilization, logistics, and deployment, as well as positioning Russian soldiers at training ranges across the Western Military District and Belarus in preparation for the final Zapad exercise. Zapad isn't even half of the show. It's unclear if the Russian Ministry of Defense inflated figure participants includes the numerous soldiers who participated in the drills proceeding up to Zapad. Third, Zapad is not an easy exercise to comprehend. In one sense, it reflects Russia's knowledge of NATO's, and particularly the US, approach to warfare, and it intends to test Russian responses developed since 2017. New formations, such as Kaliningrad's 18th Motor Rifle Division, new enhanced or critical capabilities like electronic warfare or command and control, and new operating ideas were all put to test. Political background. The past 2 Zapad exercises indicate significant shifts in Russia's relationship with Belarus. Alexander Lukashenko was eager to create a border between Belarus and Russia in 2017. By September 2021, Lukashenko could no longer portray the same dynamic between Belarus and Russia because of Belarus' hotly contested presidential election in August 2020 and the West's subsequent pressure in Belarus. The former had become much more firmly embedded in the latter's orbit in a way it had not been previously. The 2021 exercise underscores Belarus' geopolitical rebalancing towards Russia following the disputed 2020 presidential election, which marked the end of years of foreign policy that sought a more balanced stance between Russia and the West. The drills demonstrate Russia's commitment to Belarus security. This year's exercises were held in a large number of sites around Belarus. More importantly, Minsk has publicly displayed the Zapad drills as part of its defense plan against NATO assault. This reliance was not always the case. In 2017, Belarusian media reported that the government was hesitant to participate in the Zapad drill for concern that Russia might use it as a pretext to post more soldiers in Belarus. Minsk action are also significant in the aftermath of 2014 Euromaidan uprising against Ukraine's Russia's-backed government, which has since promoted to Moscow to tighten its economic, political, and military ties with Minsk. Fearing that a pro-Western government would deprive Moscow of its last-true redoubt of strategic depth against NATO. Following the 2014 Ukrainian demonstrations, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko transformed his nation from a staunch Russian ally to a mediator between Russia and the West to reap economic advantages from both and prevent a similar destiny for himself and his country. The last two Zapad drills indicate that the era of the balancing act has now ended. The drill is intended to convey a message to Belarus' domestic opposition that Minsk is prepared to use force to prevent further protests and, if required, to accept Russian assistance. This year's Zapad exercise confirms the Kremlin's trust in Lukashenko as a stabilizing force in Belarus, which is noteworthy considering that Moscow was not in a hurry to help Lukashenko only a year ago. This year's drill also involved a civil unrest scenario in which Belarusian and Russian soldiers worked together to quell a fictitious NATO-backed revolt against Lukashenko's administration. Kremlin, of its part, exploited the drills to bolster domestic support for the governing United Russia Party ahead of parliamentary elections set to begin the day after the exercise. Moscow utilized its domestic propaganda channels to highlight Zapad 2021 as another example of the resurgence of the Russian armed forces under Vladimir Putin and determination to use military might to keep Belarus in Russia's circle. Consequences: security concerns in Ukraine will be reignited as a result of the drills. The exercise included key drills near Ukraine's eastern border with Russia, where Russian forces left their heavy weaponry in April in preparation for the training. Some of this year's Zapad drills took place in the southern Belarusian district of Polesye, raising worries in Kiev about a threat on Ukraine's northern border. Russian army deployments to these regions, in fact, mimic a significant escalation with Ukraine owing to flare-up in the Donbass conflict. It's also likely that after the drills, Russia left more infrastructure at these locations, making future quick deployments simpler and posing new and persistent threats for Kiev. Zapad will only add to Ukraine's mounting security worries, which have been exacerbated by Russia's withdrawal from a long-standing Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe (OSCE) agreement on September 3rd. The move is clearly intended to send a message to Ukraine that if it fails to implement the Minsk agreement, Russia will escalate the conflict in Donbas. Lukashenko has recently allowed Russia to increase its troops' presence in Belarus by establishing training centers on its soil, and he appears likely to allow Russia to expand its presence on Russia's two existing installations in Belarus. Additional Russian troops stationed in Belarus would be viewed as a new threat by NATO and Kiev. Finally, this year's Zapad drills between Belarus and Russia will exacerbate already high tensions between the two countries and NATO. While Russia believes that military action against Ukraine is more likely than against NATO, it recognizes that due to Ukraine's newly reaffirmed strategic cooperation with the US, it must also prepare for increasing tensions with the alliance in the event of significant flare-up with Ukraine. This explains Zapad's action along Ukraine's and NATO's border occurring at the same time. Furthermore, Zapad 2021 takes place at a time when Belarus relations with its western neighbors are at an all-time low, with questions about Lukashenko's legitimacy and major human rights violations following last year's election. Belarus' attempt to smuggle migrants into Lithuania and Poland in retaliation for UE sanctions against Minsk has also strained relations with NATO allies in the region. In recent weeks, Poland and Lithuania have deployed more police and military units along their borders with Belarus. On September 3, Poland's interior minister warned that his country would have to consider various types of provocations that could occur during the exercise, which comes amid an already extremely tense situation at the border due to migrant flows. All in all, the Zapad exercise are setting the stage for a key strategic showdown in the years to come. This brings our video to an end. We hope you liked it. If so, please subscribe to our channel and share your views in the comment section. We will see you in the next video. Bye!